this just opened up last year in 2017, and there's a couple of things I'll touch on, even with mobile homes now, with owning the land, which only because it's been brought to our attention since we do deal with this. But when I found out there was only 2 title companies that I could find in Arizona, one in Tucson and one clear out like in Anthem or past Buckeye, that did this, I was like, we need to do this. We have a mecca of parks that out just Power Road East. Forget the rest of them, but just Power Road East. And I kind of went around and I was like, well, we could just do the escrow, and I had to pitch this. I had to pitch this to my owners, and they're amazing. They've put so much trust and faith in me out here because I believe that this is, and I know First American's right here, and it's very convenient. And I actually started with Cindy McGraw back on at Thunderbird Plaza back in 1999. And so I started as a receptionist, and between her and Linda Myers, they kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me, and then 4 years later I opened Tycor Title, right in the same plaza I'm in right now, and I've never left. So, had to leave briefly, but I've always come back to that. That's my home. So when I found out that we could do these, and you guys were all opened up, and it wasn't by a special certificate, it was like, we need to do this. So I kind of just crafted it, right, what's a fair amount? I checked with the other title companies, a little sleuthy, but I did, and I just ran with them. They're all doing right around $450. That's a fair amount. Because with these, you guys do a lot of the work. There's not a whole lot we can do because we don't have the access. But with these contracts, and Tracy put together little packets, and I've kind of gone through and highlighted a couple of the areas. I didn't go into too much detail. Obviously, we know we need all of the information for the buyers, the parties. To me, these contracts aren't great. They don't really give places for their addresses. It's just their names. The most important thing that we need is copies of these certificates of title. If your seller is out of state, which many of them are, at least have them take a picture of it on their cell phone and email it to you or text it to you. At least let's get a copy of it to make sure there's no lenders from past days on there. And then we'll worry about getting the original signed and notarized on the back at the time of delivery. So we can then get that information. You can also pull up personal information on a mobile home through the county tax assessor. It's a little tricky to navigate through the Pinal County assessor site, but you can get into just the mobile home division and put in the tax ID number and find out what the taxes are specifically on just the mobile home or even park model that's on a piece of rented land.
Is it considered personal property?
It is considered personal property. And that's kind of the thing with, even if you own your land, the way the whole thing has been changed for all of you, even in parks, Road Haven, Golden Vista, Carriage Manor, all of those where you own your land, Armless, I guess, has gone and changed it to where you can't list it as a piece of residential property because they now consider them recreational vehicles. Any park model is now considered and taxed as a recreational vehicle. So they won't let you list those in MLS as a piece of residential property, even if it's had an affidavit of a fixture done for 15 years. They don't care. So, excuse me, in talking to brokers, I've said, all right, list them as vacant land, and in your comments put the park model information. When you write the contract, write it as a residential contract, because really that is what it is. And in order for us as a title company, and I don't care who you use, we want to insure it as a piece of residential home and land. So always make sure you're going to have to list it as vacant land in Armless. But now I don't know how you guys list these, if you even can, if you're just dealing with the home in a park where you have park space rent. I don't know anything about MLS that way. But if it's the same way, then you just do that. Now these contracts, again, like going through it, like I said, it's more of just simply plugging in your answers, terms. The one thing I did find on this contract is Section 2F, the election. If the property has previously, if the premises are previously owned and have a purchase price of less than $50,000, earnest money deposit is not waived. They have to put something down. I personally don't care. I'm sure some of your buyers or sellers don't care, but it's not an option on this contract, and I don't understand why. But then again, you can handle these, and that's where it was happening a lot. A lot of these brokers were handling it through a trust account. They don't want to do that anymore. It's just ugly paperwork and accounting that they don't need to mess their books up with. And that's why independent escrow has come in. So using an independent escrow officer like us or the other two companies out there, one is Pioneer and that's in Tucson, there's additional fees. Again, our fee is $450, it's a flat fee. That does not include if they need a notary to sign on facts and titles. In a traditional escrow where your traditional sales, it's now required that a certified notary, one that's bank approved or approved by the escrow company, is used. And so we have a few companies that we can send people out to your clients. On these, I don't really care. It's a title. So they can take it to their local bank, they can take it to their their friend, for all I care, as long as when you're ready to do the final stuff and bring everything in, it has been notarized on the back. So that's a little bit different there, a little easier. They can, because we have no documents. We really, other than the settlement statement and our terms and conditions, which is part of this packet, we don't require anything. If it's in a park that, obviously in a park, that they need to be qualified, I would say that's your first step. Make sure that your buyer is qualified to be able to take over that existing lease of that space. Because without that, we could get all the way through it and then the park could go, yeah, they're just not going to qualify. And then your job is for naught. I don't know how you guys choose and what you do for your commission. I don't know if there is a set commission for doing these or if it's a percentage and it's just 6% of the sales price of the piece. But whatever you turn in, it would be normal. I'd send out commission instructions and just pretty much some of the basic stuff. We are up and running in Docusign, so a lot of stuff will go out Docusign now, which is a huge help for our winter visitors that are not local. Because most of them do have cell phones. Again, your prorations and assessments, fees and liens. If there is a mortgage on this, make sure you do just like you would if you had a traditional seller. Give me the lender information. Give me the last four of the social. These are a little tougher to obtain, but we get authorization and we can obtain the payoffs just like any other lender. We're
still working. Thank you.
Section 3B, there's some addenda that goes with this, and I don't have access to the documents like you guys do in the system, so I only had a couple of things that I'd ever been sent, which I cleaned up and where I got these from. So if any of these apply, you'll obviously want to put them on there with the bulletins for new or used manufactured home. In 3D, additional property, just like anything, listed. If it's furnished, just put furnished. But if there's a shed, and I know it seems trite, but if there is a shed out back, put it. Because I can't tell you how many times, even in a traditional sale, they've come back and said, the shed's gone. Well, it wasn't supposed to, but because it wasn't written, our hands were tied. So again, furnished, unfurnished, sheds, refrigerator, washer, dryer, whatever. Make sure you kind of put it. If you have to put an additional page, put an additional page. I've never found it necessary for you to list 12 pieces of china, 13 pieces of fork. Just furnished is fine that way. Section 4, financing. In case you didn't know, 21st Mortgage and Teamwork Mortgage, both of which, Teamwork Mortgage is over off of Brown Road, and I want to say Power, Higley, somewhere in there. They finance on park models and mobile homes. They have been financing them in Road Haven and will require the affixture. I also have heard that they do finance them if they're just on leased land. 21st Mortgage, I'm dealing with them right now. That's the first time I've dealt with them. And they don't even require that it be affixed. So I can tell for sure that they won't care that it's on leased land because they don't require an affidavit of fixture. Yes?
Is there some kind of limit on the age of the unit for that?
I'm going to assume it's going to be kind of follow the lines of traditional financing. I do know that like with teamwork, they have to come in with 20% down, so there's still a pretty good chunk on just doing these that they have to come in with. But the one I'm closing in Roadhaven right now, with teamwork is only a $35,000 sale, so, you know, it really doesn't come up to that much, but in my opinion, if we can find these lenders that are lending on this, why take every drop of these people's money that they've saved up for when they can get a $400 mortgage for their winter home and pay it off? You know, especially if they're doing stocks or gonna pull money from somewhere else, then it's paid off relatively quick. Interest is a little bit higher, just as it would be if you were doing a traditional mobile home. There's some loan contingencies through this. Again, if you're doing a loan or having a loan on these, the lender's gonna prevail on any of this anyways. Appraisal conditions, kind of like I said, moving through this, a lot of this is standard. They do talk about spuds in here. The ones I've dealt with, I've never really gotten a spuds. So whatever you and your broker require, make sure that you guys just follow through and whatever Tony wants to have in your file for completion. And it does say that Arizona law requires that seller must disclose all known facts which materially affect the value of the premise. And again, that's where your spuds will fall into line if they know something. Lead-based paint still applies. Warranties. Unless stated otherwise, which is standard with any contract, but unless stated otherwise, it states in this contract that the property is being sold in its present physical condition. There is a however in there. So again, if they do an inspection, I think it's just going to go right back to your Binzers. And as far as I'm concerned, where we're at, if you guys had an inspection, you can send it through on a traditional Binzer. I don't know that there is any incorporated for just the manufactured houses in parks. I don't know if there's any Binzers included, but a typical Binzer and an addendum if you needed to reduce the price to offset those repairs or whatever you guys agreed to, just like traditionally. That to me is an acceptable addendum to the contract.
But you don't want the Binzer anyway.
Not usually. I usually get them, but I ignore them. Warranties. I don't know about non-traditional, like home warranties. I know that there are some that are loaning on the ones that the people are financing, but I don't really see people putting them on traditionally in every deal. So that would be just specifically call the company you guys are happy with and ask them if they loan on a mobile home in a park. I would see why not. It still has fans, it still has dishwashers, it still has all of the items that are generally covered. Page 6, due diligence. You know, you can go through this again. There's a lot of reading on this, and some of it is a little bit different. Some of it's very, very specific in here. But I think, like anything, it can be changed. As long as both parties agree, there's no reason that you can't defer from this physical contract. Sewer, septic, I've run into a couple of things where in the park, obviously they're on sewer or a shared septic that is dealt with the park itself. So just make sure you find that out for your tenant. They may be on individual sewer hookups in some of the parks out here. I don't know that. In AJ, of course, we have Superstition Mountain Community Facilities District. We're out here. You guys do not for any of them that are out here. But we would have to transfer that and do the typical fees for transfer, which is $40 in the first month up front if it was on a specific sewer inside a park. Buyer can waive final walkthroughs. Again, all of this is just traditional stuff here. You have your cure periods, your breaches. The one thing that got me on this one is release of earnest money, Section 8C. In the event of a dispute regarding earnest money where buyer and seller cannot agree upon written mutual cancellation, Buyer and seller agree to participate in mediation. Mediation must be initiated with 7 days of the written cancellation by either party. In the event mediation is not initiated with 7 days, the earnest money shall be returned to the buyer.
Wow.
So there's no questions asked there.
Yeah.
Where traditionally, we tell you to do mediation and I'll hold it for 5 years. I don't care. I don't want to be that deciding factor because I'm going to make someone mad at some point. When I'll send it down to my attorneys and my corporate, and they'll come back, and 9 times out of 10, unless it is crystal clear, they're going to say, send them to mediation. I've got one that I've been holding for more than 18 months. It's not a lot of money. It's $1,000. And these people won't even agree to split it. They are so headstrong. It's like, it'll sit there forever. This I like. It puts an end to it. It's black or it's white, and after 7 days it's gone. I can close my file. So I do like this. So I do see that there's some things in this that I actually prefer to help me do my job better. Attorney's fees and costs, obviously the prevailing party in any dispute or claim can get the other party to pay their costs. Additional terms, just like any contract, if there's additional terms and you want to state it, put it. Make sure that there is no gray area. I don't want to see anybody go, I just think of it as a traditional real estate contract. The only difference is you don't have to deal with the land part, there's no deed. But make sure it's black or it's white. Your compensation, again, section 9F, that is whatever you guys do, and we'll send out traditional commission disbursements. Section 9H, your days, all reference to days in this contract are construed as a calendar day and shall begin at 12 a.m. and end at 11:59 p.m. for everything. There's no the next day thing here. Calculating time periods, again, in computing any time periods prescribed or allowed in this contract, they include an acceptance occurs on the date that is signed and any incorporated counteroffers thereto. It is delivered and received by the appropriate broker. Example, acts that must be performed within 3 days of the contract acceptance must be 3 full days. If contract is accepted on Friday, the act must be performed by midnight or 11:59 on Monday. Subsequent offers, you always know that you have the right to accept subsequent offers. Any party who wishes to cancel this contract may cancel the contract by delivering notice stating the reason for cancellation to the other party and or escrow company. Cancellation shall become effective immediately upon delivery to us, or to you. And then 9N, releasing your broker. We always hold brokers harmless. Yay! Again, your terms and acceptance section, basically a lot of this, like I said, is just like your traditional. There's a couple more things. Not even more things that you guys have to do. Again, deal with your park first, with your buyer. Make sure that they qualify or what those stipulations are. When you put it in this first couple of pages of the contract, it asks for the park. And we will reach out to them and say, is there transfer fees? Are you making us collect anything on their behalf? Is there 55 and older affidavits that need to be signed? So we'll still request all of those like we would from Golden Vista, Road Haven, Carriage Manor, anything like that for transfer fees or traditional HOAs. We'll still reach out to all of them. This contract contains 11 pages exclusively, and then of course there's always addendums that you can attach. It again is really super simple. There's not much to it. A lot of the things that I've gone through so far is only because it's just a trial. I've never done any, so I have one guy that with Victory Homes, he does quite a bit, and but he does everything. I don't have to. He sends me a copy of the title for my file, but he takes care of all the notaries. He deals with the parks. He deals with everything. He basically wants us to be that trust account. Money in, verify, money out. So I have him, he has them sign the terms and conditions for us, his contract, sends the earnest money in, and 3 or 4 days later, they send in all of their closing funds, and we turn around and we cut checks out. That we prorate for them, tell them what their total is. So it's pretty easy where he's involved, because he does everything. Of course, he hasn't had any that needed a lender, and we did do one of those once. And it was tough, because we had no idea.
Do you do anything with like Montesa or La Vida?
Dolce Vita.
Dolce Vita, I have not, and we are starting, Tracy and I are putting together a flyer that we can take around to these and let them know that we deal with them. And we'd be glad to co-sponsor with anybody that wants to do that, because they all try, just like Golden Vista, Carriage Manor, Road Haven, and every other person out there, they want to try to go it alone. Well, it's possible. It's not recommended, and it's not advisable, because I have to go back to them and say, you have to do this, you have to do that. Well, isn't that what I hired you for? No, not exactly. That's why real estate agents need to be involved. And so we push that. But yeah, if anybody wants to pick a park and just farm it, just like you would a section or a homeowner's subdivision, we'll be more than happy to co-brand it with you. It's silly cheap. Doing flyers, even just put up in the rec center, or if you can get one in there that's going to list, then you can put flyers out and keep it going just like you do a traditional, as long as the park allows signs out front, and not just in the window. So, but yeah, I've not done any. I've had one in Dolce Vita, but it did fall apart, so we never really went anywhere with that one. And again, I've done something golf.
Oh, Go Canyon? Golf
No,
Festival?
it's in Mesa, off of 650 North Hawes. I know the address, but I don't know the subdivision. Golf View or something like that, and that's where this Victory Homes does a lot in there. So I've done theirs, but that's it really there.
Do you handle, or does the park handle the transfer or whatever of the lease?
We would, because I think they need to, we'd be more than happy to have it and send it off with documents that need to be signed. Once they're approved, and it's on this contract, we will reach out to them. You know, just like your normal opening email to me, give me as much information as you can, and we'll run with the rest of it. But if they have an application or a full lease that needs to be signed, and buyers and sellers aren't local, we'll definitely put it in and incorporate it with all of our documents going out to them.
But you'll request it from the park
Yeah,
to get it to you so you can do
so
that.
we can send it out for signatures unless they require doing it on their own. And I've had that, where they've actually they dealt with that and had that signed before the rest of it went through.
But they need the pre-approval of that buyer, right?
Yeah,
Before-
all parks are gonna check to make sure that they're going to allow this buyer in there. And I'm sure qualifications for each park are gonna be different.
And that's before even the offer's made.
Usually, I would say so. I mean, it could come into your inspection period to make sure, but
We want to wait that long to do all the work, right?
that's just it, you know, and I don't know. Each park is different. I mean, they may take 3 to 5 days, 5 to 7 days, 7 to 10 days to qualify a applicant.
Do they normally charge a fee for that?
For,
Qualifying somebody?
Yeah.
I've not seen it. If they
Gotta run a
do,
credit check. I think anytime you run a credit check, they might charge
Yeah.
for it.
so, I remember years and years and years ago, before I owned, I went into a park, and I think I had to pay $60 or something like that to have my credit check. No different than a rental.
Yep.
You know, you're gonna do a rental, that broker or agent's gonna wanna have to run your credit on that, so. Excuse me. The addendum I have, again, I was only able to capture what has already previously been sent to me, because I don't have access to all of these documents. But this one is for the new manufactured home. But just to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like, we attached it for you. It says that the page, and I'm just now paying attention to that, it says this contract has 11 pages exclusively, and then the addenda are pages 12 and 13. So, I don't write them, I just follow them. So, this one is for new. I do know that there's one for an existing or used mobile home that you can do too. The next thing we included on here should be the Manufactured Housing Communities of Arizona Buyer Inspection and Addendum. This talks about your termites, sewer, septic, due diligence. Again, it's all basically standard in what you always do with your contracts. I think the thing, if I can tell you anything, is don't let it intimidate you. Don't be scared to go in. Like Tony said, there's probably a lot of money to be made in doing this, because people can't afford the ones with the land, because those are going upwards of $120,000 in some of the parks. So renting a piece of land and buying it, buying a nice mobile home in one of the parks, you have all the amenities. You just don't have the taxes and all of the other upkeep that you need traditionally.
But a high HOA fee. Some of them really high.
Yeah. Road Haven is now up to, that's the other thing, Road Haven is now up to $575 quarterly, but they've upped their transfer fees and their capital contribution. That's a total of $1,860 with every sale. So they get $1,860 and then $575 a quarter. Granted, you've got your own personal store and golf course and everything else, but it's still really pricey.
Well, saying that though, I mean, we have people in droves every year coming and buying and renting there. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, it's amazing. They don't care. They've got the money. If they're going there, they've got the money.
Yeah.
And they want to live there because of the amenities and the people. They like that close community.
They do. And there's a lot of those parks out here. I mean, even out here in Gold Canyon, with Dolce Vita being right on the line, Dolce Vita is one of the finest parks I've ever been into.
Yeah.
And it amazes me every time I go in there. And I have actual friends that live in there. Not to mention all the events that we hold there, and they help with the community.
Yeah, we've got a good relationship with them.
Yeah. And that's one of them that I think it's huge. Again, I don't know all of the ones that you guys have out here, because this is new to everybody. People are like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then they're like, they kind of just back away. But I think there's a lot of money with a lot less work involved in this to be made. I really, really do. And we try to keep our fees, because we really don't have to do much. Again, we're relying on you getting us all the information. Everything else is a simple fax to them.
You find that maybe at times some parks really don't want us in there, because they want to try to get a sale themselves on it.
Well, you still have those agents that that are still living back early 2000s where those certificates were required, and they've made their niche. So yeah, it's going to be like anything. I mean, some of our traditional parks that you own land on, there's those agents that have sat those parks for years. They don't want the other people in there. You're stepping on their subdivision toes, but you know what? I hear the other side, and these clients are tired of the agent that's in there. They want someone that cares, and it's sad. I mean, they want to see the variety in it. So, if there's an agent in there that sits that park, I would do it anyways.
Trisha,
I really would.
Trisha, don't you find that some of those agents that have been there for a long time, and I know how much business they're doing, and they're just kind of not happy people. Like, they're not the kind of agent you might want to engage with. Just saying.
They're
It's what I see out there.
It's a little easier just to sit there.
When it comes to them, they don't have to.
Yeah.
They don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But then they're stagnant and stale too.
Yeah.
Everything is changing, including, I just last season got an agent to move into the times where we've got new contracts out. You need to be using them. I had to require that he rewrite his contract. I said, I'll accept this one to get the deal going, but I want a new contract. It's changed. There's too much new verbiage and coverage and liabilities without the new contract, and he still hand wrote them. I'm like, well, come on, guys. We're not going there. But it's like, you've gotta keep moving forward, and it's tough. We constantly are changing and updating.
No, you're fine.
So I don't know much about this, inspection, again, this is all you guys. I don't need to see the Binzers, if that's what you're gonna put it over to me on, I just need to see if there's gonna be a credit or a change in anything. If there's no changes, we just move on and you just do what you need for your file. The next thing you guys have is our escrow instructions. Or no, you have the ADOT stuff. Tracy didn't give me my stuff there. So what I included was the non-probate affidavit. I have found through motor vehicle, and these are documents that you can get straight on the motor vehicle division website, and they're a fill-in right on the website and print it. You can't save it, but you can print it. I have found with the non-probate affidavit, if you are dealing with a family member and the owner is deceased, they can complete this non-probate affidavit, have it notarized, and have the powers through motor vehicle to get a new title or to sign on behalf of the deceased to assist in the selling of this mobile home, park model, whatever it is. And motor vehicle hasn't fought it too much. Without any other backup documentation.
So it doesn't exceed 75,000.
Right, as long as it doesn't exceed 75,000. And so we've kind of run with that a little bit, because let's face it, we have a lot of deceased people with their children are trying to sell it in the park or even in parks with the land. So we have actually used that quite a bit. The next page attached is another document, and that's a power of attorney. Feel free. I have many agents who will, or I for you, will complete this and send it off to your seller, your buyer, so that you can be their power of attorney while you're here. If they're out of state and they're not coming, get this. Because let me tell you, I can't tell you how many times we have a notary sign them back there, they ship all the stuff to us, and they signed in the wrong section. Well, now, as a power of attorney, you can just re-sign, I can notarize you as a power of attorney, and we don't have to worry about shipping docs back to them, starting all over, motor vehicle frowning on the signature. So power of attorneys work great if you're dealing with a seller out of state.
Is this good for any vehicles of any
Any
sort?
vehicle of any sort.
This is just for the vehicles.
That's just for
Yeah.
the vehicles,
Right.
and it's any vehicle, I mean, it
Right.
can be, but it's just for that. If you need a power of attorney to deal with, they have a daughter here and they're not gonna come back and they just really aren't capable of dealing with it, do a power of attorney. We're not dealing with underwriting, so we don't have to go through my, scrutiny of underwriters that wanna know, why are we using a power of attorney? Well, because they're elderly. Well, how elderly? Oh, good Lord. Come on, guys. If they're getting a power of attorney and I send it to them, there's a reason, and it's a good reason, and I will fight. But here, there's not much question asked.
It seems like in certain other states that on something being notarized, the notary can act as a witness, but not here in Arizona.
Correct.
So we have to make sure, I'm guessing, do you ever run into where you get something notarized from another state and it comes in here and the notary tried to act as a witness and now it's no good?
Yes. More often than not. Or they say, well, it's not required in our state to have a notary or a witness on this power of attorney. But you're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. This is Arizona, it's Arizona property. I just got into a pretty heated battle with a attorney's office that we use regularly for probates. Because they filed an affidavit of succession and probate, personal representative, in the county of Maricopa. The property is in Pinal. They know that you have to file it and have it domiciled in the county for which the property lies. Well, what they did on page 2, and I won't say it was in small print, but it's not normally the page we look at because they're pretty standard, they put for any property in the state of Arizona. Then chose Maricopa County because that's closer to them, and filed that in Maricopa. We did fight, and I did allow it, or my underwriters finally gave in and said, because of the way it reads, we went back to them and said, come on guys, I get it, just don't play the game. And that's an attorney doing that. And so we have battles left and right. They just, everybody always wants to try to make it, and they won that, but we told them we wouldn't accept it any longer because they know. And they've done it in the past, filed it in Pinal. It was an oversight, I think. I think they just accidentally filed it there, but in order to get it recertified, we had to refile in Pinal County, and we didn't want to put this family through that anymore.
Yeah.
So, and it was a $40,000 piece of dirt. It wasn't worth what it was gonna cost for the insurance and the owner's policy. But yes, I do see that a lot, where they just, a witness? Well, I'll have my brother. No, strangers. I've called the girls in next door from Academy Mortgage and said, hey, I need a witness, and they'll run over and witness one. There's people everywhere. Pull somebody off the street. It doesn't matter. As long as they have an ID, that notary should be able to notarize them. I also run into a lot of problems where I'll have a notary call me and say, well, this document, your job is to notarize, not tell me how to write my document. And, or a seller will call me the next morning and say, well, I didn't sign my documents because the notary said, yeah, that's okay, we'll try it again. So, stand your ground. You guys know what you're doing. You're good at what you do. Or you
Well,
wouldn't
those
still
kind
be
of
doing it.
mistakes can really mess things up when they're out of state. You have to use a mobile signer.
Yes,
Now you gotta schedule it all over again.
yeah, it
And
is.
guess who's gonna pay again?
They are, and then they get frustrated.
Yeah.
And they do, they do get very frustrated. But for mobile homes or park models, whichever we're dealing with, on lease land, even if it's on regular land, get this power of attorney. We definitely send it out every time we send out documents because we don't know what's gonna come in the end. And we've used it a lot. So, what was the next one we stuck in there? Lien release. If there is a lien on this mobile home, which some of them have them from years past that never, back in the day, they used to, when you even paid off a car, they'd send you the, congratulations, you paid it off, and there's this little card. Well, that didn't tell people to take their title and go refile it to have that lien removed. Well, now that person's deceased, or their stuff didn't get moved because they didn't know, and we have a title that we got a duplicate because we have a power of attorney, so we were able to get a duplicate. But there's a lien on it. We have to get that released, and I tell you, some of those battles are lengthy because these companies are non-existent no longer. Most lenders that loaned on mobile homes back in the day have at least, we have somebody who has taken up that responsibility. But it's still hard. The hoops we jump through to try to get a lien release from a company that says, well, I don't have this. They were never in my records. Well, no, because it was paid off probably 20 years before you acquired this defunct bank. But we eventually get them, and we get them cleared because we just keep pushing this lien release in their face. And finally, I think they get tired of us, but that's okay. We got what we wanted at the end. And we know they're paid off. They didn't loan 30 years on mobile homes back in the 80s. So I think maybe 10 years was the tops back then. So those lien releases, we take care of those, but I just kind of threw it in there so you can see when things go out. You'll always want to know because your client is going to call you and go, I got this lien release and I don't know why. That's because it never got removed, and we need to get it removed. Don't think you guys will really ever need the title and registration application. That's really for new ones. If you're getting a duplicate, if you're going to be that power of attorney for your client, you don't need to fill out the whole registration. But again, I just kind of pulled things that I thought might apply in a certain case. And then instructions on how to complete that. Next is our escrow instructions, and they're pretty simple. I had to create this when I went to my company and said, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to just have it available for my clients out here. They said, well, good luck. Here you go. Create your escrow instructions. Okay. So I kind of did my first 2 pages, and then I kind of took everything from our traditional terms and conditions and put it in there because we wanna make sure that we have, talking about the escrow instructions, the earnest money, what we can and cannot do, holding us harmless, of course, we have that in there, conflicting demands, cancellations, deposits, matters handled direct and outside. We can always do that too, and we all know that that happens a lot because, you know, cousin Ed is buying from, you know, cousin Myrtle, and she just gave him the money. So direct and outside is acceptable as well, as long as we know. We'll put it on the settlement statement just as we would anything else. Not getting that. So again, our terms and conditions, it would be great if it was sent out. We send this out. You guys don't always have a copy of it. Like I said, the one guy I'm dealing with Victory Homes, he has this and he sends it out. And when I get his contract or this contract, this comes back signed too. I don't have anything else to do with him. He's already taken care of all of it. But I don't ask you to send our terms and conditions out because that's our way to make contact with your client. To talk to them about wire fraud. And if you thought that you were gonna get away from that conversation today, you are so wrong. We all know how prevalent wire fraud is. Always, always, always inform your client. I don't care, buyer, seller, if you're working with lenders, traditional or in what we're talking about right now in parks. We got hit, our office, 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday and a Thursday, just that fast. Both of them, because we educate, because we preach it, and because we are constantly pushing it down your throat in every email and the documents we're making your clients sign, they're frustrated with us. But we saved almost $300,000 in 2 transactions.
Jeez,
because we're pushing it. The wire fraud value is into the trillions of how much has actually disappeared out of our country. It's in the trillions. My owner is willing and loves to speak on this subject, and we're constantly putting out things on our Facebook about wire fraud and some stories of the situations where it is hitting home for us. And so please join our Facebook, Clear Title Apache Junction. You'll see lots of things for the, some fun things, obviously, but the events that are coming up, wire fraud, different classes we're holding. Anybody is always available at any of our classes that we put out there on any subject. If you want a special class, ask us. We'll be more than happy to put something together. Specific CE classes, we're starting to run those again now that we've got all of our agents back and local and not on their summer hiatuses. So if there's classes that you need before you can renew, let us know. We're just kind of pick and random choose. So if there's something you want, shoot Tracy an email and we'll put together that class and get it. If Tony can't do it, we have several attorneys that are now licensed to do the CE classes as well. We've used a couple, and please give us your feedback. If you don't like the way an instructor taught and you just think that, you know, we had one that he wasn't right. He was actually informing the people, our people, you guys, wrong information.
Yeah, we won't
We
use
were
it.
at that class.
Yes, we will
were
not
at that
be
class.
using
Yeah.
him any longer.
Well, yeah, I think it was you, Carol, that said something, and we took your feedback. We're not going to be using him. We haven't since.
But we don't know. We deal with this on the other side. So we rely on you guys, and without you guys, we wouldn't be where we're at. And so with that, again, I can't thank you guys enough.
Quick question. What was your title fees again? $450?
$450.
$450. No,
And it's customary to split it just like normal, just like a normal escrow fee.
Okay.
I just standardly split it 50-50, unless buyer's picking up everything or sellers agreeing to
I've
pay
sold the
everything.
same one twice in Dolce Vita this year with Vince, and he uses Pioneer, and it was $850.
Yeah.
Wow.
The buyers picked it up both times.
I don't see any point in spending, in having a client incur that. I don't charge that for a refinance, and I have a loan package I have to sign. Here it's really pretty simple. If there was a loan, I can tell you we may add our traditional lender fee to sign a loan package, because again, it's a loan package. It's anywhere from 70 to 150 pages.
What would that be?
$160.
$160.
And I normally, if you are doing a traditional sale, that is I incorporate that in the escrow fee anyways. I'd
Okay.
say, here's your escrow fee, and I already add in that 80 on each side. But I would probably add that loan charge
Okay.
just to the buyer, of $160, just because somebody, I mean, most often is gonna have to sign all those papers. I've had one, where the lender went and did it themselves. Well, then I'm not gonna charge them for it, because there's really, other than inputting a few fees, there's nothing I need to do. So, but our base fee is $450. They will obviously have any courier charges if they're out of state, or, mobile notary charges if they need to have that accommodated. But again, on most of these, all there is a title.
Yeah.
Maybe an age affidavit.
Yeah.
I had one guy that I didn't even, for Road Haven, he was a single buyer, so there's really nothing he needed to notarize on a purchase. And he had just gone through Hurricane Michael in Panama City.
Yes.
He lost everything, which he was moving here anyway, so he was kind of okay with it because his deal had already closed. But he had no mobile notaries, no anything. And I said, you know what? His name was Jeff. I said, don't worry about it. When you come into town in 2 weeks, I'll sign that affidavit. I'll notarize you then. I'm not worrying about it. Just sign everything, Docusign everything, and just get it back to me. Well, come to find out, when he came in last week, there was no cell service. Verizon wasn't in. Verizon's one of the biggest ones back there. No cell service, no anything. So he drove to Tennessee to deal with some things where his daughter lived. Luckily, there was someone close. So, but again, you guys are what makes us, every title company. Without you, we're not here. So I appreciate the business that you guys have given us at any time, and I don't care whether it's ours, and I promise you it does happen. If you have a deal with another title company and you didn't want that title company anyway, and I don't care if you wanted First American, I love these girls, but you ended up with someone else and you just don't get what they're asking for, call us. We have no problem telling you this is why I think they might be doing this, or answering why this is what it is, because there's so many changes on our side that are coming up as well, that you're gonna see something all of a sudden you're like, this has never been asked before. And I'll assure you that it is or it isn't. I had an agent, a broker, come to me yesterday and she said, didn't want this here, but it ended up at another title company, and they said they won't put the wife on after close of escrow. Why?
Why?
Right? That's what I said. Why? It's a deed. If it were my client, I'd have it ready. Wife's always going to come with the husband anyways, because she's not about to let that get signed without her seeing it. I said, I just do it. I won't give it to him until it closes, because I don't want to run the risk that they accidentally record it too fast if there was a delay. But I do it, and I mean, that email was unequivocally no. Here are names of processors that will prepare that document for you. And I'm thinking, it's just silly. It is just silly. So, I have no problem doing that. So I told her, I said, go back to the lender and ask him, is this a non-borrowing spouse, and can the spouse be on title? She came back and she says, yeah. So now I said, now they're forced to. They don't have a choice, because I told them to put the spouse on the title, just not on the loan. So now the title company actually had to do their job. But again, I don't mind. That's what I'm here for. So I've been here for 20 years. I love what I do. And I love out here. I don't go past Signal Butte if I don't have to. So I stay east of Signal Butte. So again, thank you guys so much for having us. At any time, you're going to think of questions. I kind of go through this stuff fast because it's something that I know. Shoot us an email. Call me up. Ask questions. And I don't know about all of you, but I am super excited, and we're looking forward to a great season. It's coming. They're here.
Warming up.
It's warming up.
But
They're here.
Are there a lot of sales happening?
Not yet, but there's a lot of chatter. Our phones are ringing nonstop. The questions are starting to come in. I'm thinking about buying. Got this. Talk to an agent. So, and we do push that. Again, if you guys want to market, let Tracy know. I think there's money to be made in this. A lot of people are a little scared to jump into it because you haven't been allowed to do it before. But I would do it.
Yeah, it's not expensive, but if you wanna do classes or events, or if you wanna go over to Dolce Vita and host a lunch and learn for the residents, anything that you think of like that, I'm all in, I'm super excited about it, I love doing it. And, Tony's doing our CE class in December, just FYI, I'll plug Tony, he's doing fair housing on the 5th.
I'll be
So I'll
there 'cause
send,
that's the last one I need.
oh, good, yes, okay, good, well, I'll send you guys emails on that, so you have
The
it.
probate attorney that did the CE class at your office,
Was that
St.
Brian,
Clair? St. Clair?
Yes.
Brian
Brian
Walker or
Yeah, St. Clair.
Sean?
Yeah, but it is Fowler St. Clair.
So
Fowler
Fowler
St.
is the
Clair.
name of the company?
Yeah.
Fowler
Fowler
St.
St.
Clair.
I've referred 2 people to them, outstanding, by the way.
Yes, they are.
They
Very
are
good.
very, very good, and that is who we go through all the time. It happens to be the same one that filed it in Maricopa County, but, but we've got a great working relationship, so we were able to work through it and make it work for
Yeah,
everybody.
it worked out great.
They are a great group of guys over there. Thank you, thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you.
you very much.
Well, you are very welcome.
I got all this, buddy, where are you gonna sit?
And that one is offices. Last one you can.
I can't, yeah. What?
Up to you. I just want to slide the chair. Chicken.
Yes, I had a pan of chicken tacos and a pan of beef, and I think those look lighter. I think it's 50. I think these look more, do you want me to look? I think these are beef.
I mean,
I think the left is beef and the right's
It's in
chicken.
you.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, I'm glad.
He's kind of
Thank
slow,
you so
but he's
much.
still
That was
breathing.
He's a little sloppy, yeah.
Slow, sloppy, you know.
Yeah, if you guys
No,
have questions about
slothy,
it later.
slothy, oh, slothy.
Call Tricia. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, I wish I had this class stuff. I would've made double what I did.
Chicken. Yeah.
I guess I should have said, but we kind of all rushed in and
Yeah.
it was a frenzy. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you.
So on the talk about the notary being a witness, does that count for anything?
Not usually.
No, but I mean, cause I had Carol notarize my power of attorney for just my health,
Okay,
and she was my witness too. Should I change that?
it's invalid.
So I better get right on.
Because, yeah,
Do I have to do a whole new one, or can I just have another witness initial and
I would
do a whole
do
new
it.
one?
Would you like anything before I close it up?
Yeah.
Take another
Because
plate
it just,
here.
and
Oh,
I would
Take it to
assume
your
that
desk.
for
Here,
medical,
no,
it's gonna
no,
be the
no, I
same
just want
as
it
it
to
would
your
be
desk.
for a
Yes.
traditional.
I got
They
just
just
a
can't
little
be
So,
the same.
these are the
It's
beef and this is the
self-serving.
chicken.
Oh, I had
It's
beef
like
on
you
my-
shouldn't
Yeah.
let your spouse be your notary.
Yes.
Shame on me.
Do you want
You know,
salsa?
I'm glad I heard that.
They're always good. Kathy?
And have it in my paperwork as if it's done,
So
and
these
it's
are
not.
chicken.
Because
these
the
are
witness
beef
was
tacos,
notarized as
and
well.
there's a few like chimichangas.
In that
chicken.
notary section, it should have said
Salsa
something
with
about,
the chips.
as a
And
notary,
soda,
I
if you drink
notarize
soda.
this
Okay,
signature and this
thank you so
signature, well, I
much.
can't notarize my own signature.
And
that's why it
thank you
becomes
so
invalid.
much for helping me. I
Oh,
thought I
yeah,
brought
I
enough
have it in my
copies,
car.
but I
I'm
think
gonna
I
go
have a
get
couple
it and
extras in
change
there.
that.
Yeah, double check it and make sure, but if she did, if she notarized herself, which is,
Notarized
Tony
my
Blair has this, so that
paperwork.
might
and then
be-
says she
Yeah,
witnessed
so-
it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
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 very
yeah.
Yeah.
So that
But I think in the notary section under Arizona notaries on our power of attorneys, even for medical or otherwise, it says I and the witness and you put in their names.
Absolutely.
And if you need, I mean, we have
Get out of your
general
way.
and we have specific powers of
Thank
attorney
you
we
for
can send
coming
out. We don't have
over.
the medical ones that read all the medical stuff, but
Thank you.
if you could find it, another blank one, it would definitely.
Yes, I will
I
definitely
can
do
just
that.
write it out and
Happy
make
with
copies.
that.
Make a copy of the back page, yeah, write it out, start all over.
Yeah, my sticker came off, it got torn in my hair.
Oh, it
But
did?
yeah, I went this morning.
You went this morning?
Yeah. I like to go, drop it
Well,
off,
I'm
because I like getting
certainly
the
glad I
sticker.
heard that.
Yeah, but it's
Juicy
right by my
tidbit.
house, so it's
So
super
on
easy
the
right before I
one for,
get out of the house, yeah.
Yeah.
This one,
This is the
so if
second
I
time
had
my
this
daughter's
filled out
doing
ahead
it.
of time, cause my
Yeah,
husband
yeah.
has 2
So
trucks and
we
they're
just
only
wanted to
his
go
name,
into
I could just do this ahead of time and be ready.
Was it fun to
Yeah.
go with her?
Oh,
Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, it's so good to see the young people.
And I should have said something, I should have thought about that, but until you just said that. A power of attorney is only as good as you are alive.
We have and is probably not gonna be for.
No.
No,
Yes.
definitely not, but it
No,
feels
but
good
I
to do
mean-
that, I think.
Yeah.
If he's,
My
you're
age by
talking
myself, I
power
just do it at home and
noted,
What do I
by
need?
mail.
you need to be on
Yeah,
that.
so So normally
on the
that's our
title,
plan,
yes.
is we got the things out on the counter, we
You
don't,
can't
we wanna
use a
mail.
power of attorney
But
for someone
inevitably,
who's dead, you
somehow
don't.
it becomes a part
What are
of
they
the
giving you
account,
power
and
of?
we can't actually put it in the dang mail.
But what about the
And so I
the
ended
one
up just
that's
taking it that
over-
morning and dropping it in the box, which is
Okay,
also
the one
easy,
over
because it's not a
financial,
busy
that's
location
no
with
good
cars,
either?
is it?
Not a power of attorney.
Walk in, stick it in, leave.
Oh, okay.
Super easy.
I never thought about
Once
that.
It's
they
really
pass,
fast, they don't make you
pretty
show,
good.
powers of attorney
and
do
they don't
not
even
work.
make you show ID or
So,
anything, so.
it's only if they're
just delivering a
incapacitated or
sealed
unable
ballot.
or unwilling.
It's easy.
Well-
Financial overturn.
As long as he's alive, the power of attorney is gone. But if he were to pass, you got nothing. You need to be on those accounts.
She's so.
If it was like a
You know, having a repulse to your past, because they're both always on it.
a will,
It's really nice. It's a
but
fun
see,
piece.
wills are only good as you are
But I
right
can
as
back
well.
up.
They're a directive
So
to
I'm
a
like, I'll
judge,
get that one.
and that's always been the misconception, well, I have a will. Well, that's all fine and well, but that's just a directive to a judge
No.
to tell the
I'm here
judge
for-
what his wishes
Canyon.
were. That's where probate comes in, becoming a personal representative
So
of the
you've got
estate.
it to eliminate probate.
Raised our kids in
You need to be
Rhinestone,
on
on the east side of the
everything.
state.
Really?
Now, for
Then
personal
I'm
property,
From banking background,
My
33
house
years
is
in
only,
banking.
wow.
so you're good there.
Good for you.
So they,
But bank
region
accounts,
management
he can
in
put you as a,
Arizona, and then they transferred me to North Dakota,
He only has
region
one.
management for
And
sales
it's a business
development.
account and he
Wow.
made
And then I got moved back to
officer, so I
Arizona.
think
with
I-
good, then you're
another
okay.
bank in Casa
You should be
Grande.
okay on that because you're an officer and the bank
Before
should have
the
had you
markets
sign an
died,
officer's card.
right.
The paperwork hasn't come
The
back
best way
yet,
to
Oh.
but
balance
he
their,
filled it out for his,
their new
whatever.
acquisition was to get that salary off.
Person who.
Absolutely.
So
does
mine was the
LLC and
salary
all
that
that.
went the line through and.
So I would,
I was
yeah, you should be
unemployed
fine there if you're an
after
officer on that
32
business.
I didn't wanna go back.
And that's okay
Did
because
you have
if
pension?
you
Did you
own
have
property
stocks?
in an
Nothing.
LLC,
So
Well,
that's,
my
or
401k.
anything else,
Well,
then you
here's
have
the thing,
your
my mom
LLC
was
paperwork
making
that the
her
bank
career
will allow and
retired.
things like that.
and when
Right.
the
Um,
crash,
But as far as
her whole
like
retirement was gone, so
Cars.
it doesn't
Once
matter.
mine started
Anyway,
going down,
cars.
Yes.
So I
cars,
took-
trailers, anything that holds a
How do you
title.
left?
Another
and I
name on it without
did
having
a
to go to
self-directed IRA and bought houses.
to the DMV.
Fabulous.
Go there and
And
just
I just
redo
sold
it.
one of them
Yeah.
3 times what I paid for.
Good for you.
The other one I
It's-
still
so
have.
it's-
That's a
But
good
you can
story.
And it's
just
had good income
go to
over
a
the
third party.
years.
Yeah.
It's been, the
Few
people
more
are producing
dollars.
great money.
My
So
gosh, the
I've
time that
more
you're
than
gonna
tripled
save.
my
Well, it's hard for
investment
me to go.
in 9 years.
I should talk to you. I have a self-directed IRA. I've got
mean,
most of it
We can,
directed
and
into
it's good to
investments.
see that.
Right.
$25,000.
One of the easiest places is MDS
Okay.
tax and titles right there on Meridian.
Yeah.
They used to be
Yeah, that's
on,
what.
they used to
yeah,
be
but
on
I have
the
just 2 rentals. But,
northwest corner
then you have
of
to have
Meridian and
reserve for
Apache
things
Trail.
that break
And that
and-
old,
Yes.
where the Whataburger and all that used to be, I don't know
Yeah,
how
so
long
it
I've
depends
been
on
out here.
what you think you need to
that
keep in
went
reserve.
way
you
back.
know.
But
So I
they
was selling
just
it,
built a
said
new
some of
building
these too,
behind the
because
Bank
it
of
has
America,
rentals.
heading
But once it gets
north
rentals,
on
it's
Meridian.
okay.
They're
They keep
quick,
it trashed by
they've
the
got a ton of windows, they've
So
got great
sort of, is it
staff.
really not
So
worth
if
it
you
anymore?
had to,
I
you
wanna
could
buy
have
it.
everything ready
Oh, so you can
and
work it out.
be in and out in
55
a
plus
short
nine,
amount of time
nobody's
to
trashes
add.
houses in Altenburg.
They're not
Email
doing
me,
that.
my cards are in there, email me, I'll shoot you the contact for MDS tax and titles and call them and say, hey,
Huge.
this is a situation, is there anything I can have
Same way.
prepared ahead of time? So that when we come in, because he's,
your
you
space
know,
or your
he's got,
land
Well, I
fee and
want
all
to
that.
buy one that
He's
owns
got
the
cancer.
land.
don't say anything about
So then I.
thought
look
process,
forward to it,
because
and
then
I have
they'll
some in reserves.
stop
And
all
if you
that,
don't have it rented
but,
all year long, you only
he's
have
weak,
seasonal,
and so
but you have to
it's
continue all the expense all year.
tough
So you
for
gotta
us
do
to
the
get in
math
there.
and figure
Is
out
there
what
anything
you
you can have
solve.
prepared way ahead of time to
That's what I'm
just
looking
put
at,
me
but I
on
haven't-
whatever we
They
need?
continue around.
Yeah.
And then they can,
Basically,
There's just a
there's
couple
just
that
one
I think
trailer,
it's
a
more
towing
market there.
trailer
I think if I
and
had
2
it,
trucks.
It's a gamble. If I don't, then I don't, then I'm
Yeah.
stuck with it.
So that I'm not faced
Yeah.
with a problem.
right,
If it's only
And,
seasonal,
you
you
know,
gotta have
I've-
fully furnished.
it's
you gotta
silly
pay for
that it's
everything,
still
the
this
internet,
way
the
sometimes,
electricity,
but I
the water,
had a
everything
man
has to
who
be
said,
paid for all the time.
oh, I
Whereas
don't
if you
want
rent it year
my
long,
wife
then
having
they
the
have to
ability
pay their
to
own
do
utilities.
anything.
So
And I
if you
said,
rent
well, I
a seasonal,
understand
how many
that.
months is that?
So,
4 or 5?
put the word and.
Okay.
That means she can't
Do
do
they
it
pay
without
more
you.
knowing that
She could never go and do
Like
anything
roughly
without you.
3,000.
But
So
It's
they'll
every
pay 25
But
months.
she
if,
can without
If it's
you
a
if
nice
you're not.
rental.
if you're no
fully
longer
furnished and
here,
everything, they'll
she
put
can
up.
show them
And
a
they-
death certificate,
they
and
don't
then
have to
she
pay
can't,
Extra.
because
the
you
amenities
obviously
that
can't.
Mountain Brook may have,
So then
and
she
whatever
was safe, and
community
he's like,
it is.
okay.
Okay.
I think he thought that, well, I don't think he was gonna be straight all the way around, with everything, but
I've
I
got.
think he thought she
No,
was
no,
just gonna
Advantage.
sew anything
Advantage,
up from
yes.
underneath him.
Yeah.
They're
Of course,
wonderful.
you know,
Yeah, they were
those
really
with-
helpful, gave
with
me more
cancer,
information
I
than I
lost both
even
my
understood
parents that
about
way.
it, so.
They,
But you're in mostly investments, you're
we're all
not
out to
in
get them.
properties.
They're getting better and we're out
Mine
to
I
get them.
invested in
And
startup
that's not the way
companies.
it's working,
Okay.
I promise you that.
See, I'm not really
Promise,
good at
but
the investment side,
that's
I've got too
how they
much
begin
cash in
to
there
think.
that I didn't
Right,
invest.
well, I see days.
It wasn't enough to buy another
Sharp,
property.
I didn't have a
some
ton, I
days
changed
were
careers
like,
and took my
oh my
401k
God,
and just
you
did
know.
that.
And you need
Yeah,
to pick
that
and
was a
choose
smart
which
move.
day
That
you're gonna
was-
say,
But I didn't mind
I
too.
think we need to go and get this
things
done.
right.
It's,
Yeah.
Advantage is great, and
Because
they
I
give you
can't
ideas
tell
of
ya,
other things, but
I should have,
since I was a realtor.
and
that
I'm
was
one
the
of
first thing
those
I
that
done.
can
I'm gonna
easily
buy a
sit back and
couple
say,
houses.
I knew better,
I think,
but I did
because
not have my
Lois got
parents
that
prepared.
property.
And
at 50,
I
so
had
got
3
some time
months when my
till
dad got
retired.
diagnosed
Yeah.
with cancer.
So I guess
He only
if I
did
needed
Only
to
those 3
down the
months.
road, 15 to 20
And
years, I could
my
live in
mom
eventually, couldn't I?
Well, you can't, you have to take it out of your
literally
road. You-
dropped
that-
dead 3
that's
weeks
a-
later.
a tax
And she was
for-
fine.
Okay.
No
you have
cancer,
to
no
pay
nothing,
taxes
she was
on
fine.
that,
Okay.
because
She just couldn't
every year you do
I
a
guess not.
full
And
face
she
value
literally
of
3
the
weeks,
property,
3 weeks later.
valuation.
So to
And
tell you that
So that's
I
what you
knew better
take
and
as a
I didn't,
distribution, you gotta
in
pay
the 3
taxes.
months I was
So
dealing
guess
with that,
I
I
know
knew.
Vantage offers classes, I probably need to
They
go
do.
take
That's
some of their
another
classes.
thing.
Have you done any?
I done a
Only
few,
name on
I
my
probably need to
house.
go back and do another
With
one
him,
maybe on
he has a beneficiary
investing
deed,
other than
but
in real
He's the
property.
beneficiary deed.
Yeah. I think
That's,
I need to go take
that's,
classes.
yeah, that
Did you like
becomes,
them? You
Oh,
thought
yeah.
they
if
were
he's,
good?
no, if
Did you
he's,
take?
he,
I
I need
just
to
took
change
the
it to
initial
my
one to
daughter
learn
and my
how,
child.
Yeah.
how it works.
yeah.
Okay.
And
You
what I
need to
can
just
buy,
get a
and
new
they just tell
beneficiary
you you
deed
can buy
and
anything you
re-record,
want.
have your signature
There's
notarized and
very little that you
re-recorded.
can't buy as long as it has a
That
value.
she'll
help me
take
bring
over. And it would supersede his
any
that's
investment
recorded,
you
it's the
really
latest
want.
recorded document is
Collection,
what,
car collection,
what's
yes. Yeah, it's an
valid.
investment gold,
So,
it's over, and
we
it's
don't
just
look
like
back,
buying
I mean, if there was
commodities.
3 of them, we're like,
So, okay, so it's by
This one
commodity, so the
supersedes
gold
that one,
is
so
not
it goes
physical,
away.
but they've
kinda like a
invested in
will, as soon
those
as you do a new will,
commodities.
it
I see.
deletes
Well,
all
it-
previous wills.
I don't know if you can
so.
take possession of the gold or not.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I would
So
say get your
I
name
think
on
it's
them.
just really paper.
Yeah.
So on
I
bank
would want it
accounts,
just paper, wouldn't
like
want
if
it.
my
Yeah,
daughter
right,
is power of
yeah.
attorney on
But
bank
anyway,
accounts,
interesting
she
to talk
doesn't
to you
get
about.
Well,
that.
interesting to talk to you too.
Take care, buddy.
They don't
This is
automatically
really
Did you
good.
like it? This is Los Gringos.
paid on
And,
death.
a couple
Yeah,
of them said,
so
I said,
no,
you know,
I mean, if she's a
fingerprints
power
might be
attorney,
best
as
'cause
long
we're
as
doing a
she's a
class
power
and all of
attorney.
that. And they said,
Really, in my opinion,
Mexican's always good
Power
and
attorney then.
Los Gringos is
It-
always good.
it is.
So
Yeah.
I decided to try it.
if
I've
all
only
you're
eaten
doing
it
is
once
dealing
and I
with
liked
somebody
it.
while they're alive and they're.
It's nice to know that other
And they're just
people
not
like it.
local,
Yes,
or they're
exactly,
just
yep.
well.
Yeah.
Or it's too hard to bring mom in, you know, then, yeah, they're great.
So good.
But.
So Michael is your new realtor here, right?
The
Yeah,
struggles we
John,
go
is it
through.
over
I
here?
just met him at the same time, yeah,
Yeah.
just today.
And then trust, you know, if you
He
have a
took
lot
the
of
peak
property.
performance classes here.
To me, trust are
and
kind of.
Tony
expensive.
started offering the classes to get licensed.
My house.
Cool.
And that brings in.
Which, that's personal
I love that
property, so that's not in
Tony's
there,
teaching
just
now.
make sure
And
you
you
put your
know,
daughter on
did
there
you take his
with
class at, well,
and,
you did, I'm sure you've taken his
um,
classes before.
Every time I
if you
can.
wanted
He's
to
fun.
eliminate
He's
that
fun. I mean, you'd rather
worry.
have a teacher that kind of makes it,
I'm the same
keeps
way.
your
I do this
brain
for a living, and now I have
involved.
my properties,
I don't know how
my
many classes
vehicles,
I've taken
my
where
trailer.
it's hard to stay
I don't have
focused.
anybody on them.
So Tony's a lot of fun. I like
I
working
need
with
to,
him.
I need to get my butt in gear.
That's
Um,
I've heard
and
that
I
he
need to make
does.
sure my children are
really
taken
good
care of
business,
as far
yeah.
as their stuff is done, because we're just,
Did you eat over
I
there?
do it.
I
do it
did.
for a
Oh.
living, and I'm
No,
so
but I'll
angry
throw
that
this. I'm gonna
I,
take Kathy a
we
couple
do
of
it again.
tacos. She
It's
has me.
not there,
Trisha has
and I
me,
knew
so
better, but I don't
I'll
do it
probably
myself.
grab a couple for them and
So,
Oh, wow.
package it up and.
So,
get back.
so my,
Yeah.
I did have a
Oh,
different witness
got
on
plenty
mine,
to do.
my Alistair and my financial.
yes.
I put the cover to that in here.
And now you're
There's,
his
I've got
power
one here. I've got some
I'm
foil.
his
Yeah.
health and his financial.
I don't know if you're gonna take,
Okay, who
I don't know
witnessed
if you're
his?
gonna use that.
Oh, no, I'll just throw it in here and use the foil because it'll,
Well, I'm gonna set it
Then
here so it's
that's
not in
what-
Tony's office.
yeah,
I
I'll
put
throw it
mine
away.
earlier than Tony
Okay.
got his.
I don't want you
Yeah.
to have to deal
So-
with the
Thank you
trash.
so
It was
much.
just-
Oh, you're
Bye,
welcome.
Patty. Thank you.
Yeah, so his is fine,
Yeah,
his should
but-
be perfectly fine.
But it's,
Yours is
yeah,
not
I need to
valid.
redo that.
Yeah.
So I'll get right on that. My power of attorney that Carol witnessed and
Do you
notarized
like
is no
guacamole?
good, so I gotta get that. Cause I need a witness.
She witnessed her own signature, she can't witness her own signature.
So I'm gonna do mine over. Remember you witnessed for my husband?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you
So
had
I
to
had
decide.
done mine beforehand with Carol, and she witnessed it. too, and she can't.
Okay,
So
okay.
I'm gonna
That was
change
really
that.
nice, thank
Yeah,
you so
that
much.
was
Oh,
really
did you
good.
get
So
enough?
I'm gonna-
There's
Yes,
some-
It's in my
Oh.
car, so I'll just.
Oh,